Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first question, I want to ask about a situation that occurred in early April. There were photos of 5 deceased babies that were allegedly from the Washington Surgical Clinic here in Washington, D.C., and it captured national headlines. It appeared that these fully formed babies had died in abortions. The pictures reveal the brutality of abortion, and especially late-term abortions. And I'm very concerned about the allegation that at least one baby may have died in a partial birth abortion in violation of federal law. To my knowledge, these babies have received no official autopsy to determine whether a violation of the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act of 2003 or the Born Alive Infants Protection Act of 2002 had occurred. The facts are troubling to the extent that I think they at least warrant an investigation. And since what is alleged is a violation of federal law, that places the matter under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Department of Justice. What my question would be, will you commit to dedicating appropriate personnel from the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate whether any of these babies died in violation of a federal law?
So my understanding is there is an investigation ongoing, led initially by the Metropolitan Police Department. Of course, the way federal and DC are organized, that would include assistant attorneys who are part of the Justice Department. I can't really say any more now because there's a pending investigation on it. But I believe the investigation has been announced publicly.
Oh, have you been able to view any of the photos of the evidence?
I really don't want to, since there's a pending investigation, I really don't think it's appropriate for me to discuss the way in which the investigation is proceeding.
Well, are you committed to enforcing 18 USC 1531, which is the partial birth abortion ban, which is settled law and is upheld by the Supreme Court?
The department is committed to enforcing all federal laws.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks, and we look forward to following up and as that investigation continues. As I noted in my opening statement, the China initiative was a policy that was created under President Trump in 2018, and it was in response to the existential threat posed by the Chinese government and those acting on the behalf of the Chinese government. These efforts were always focused on the action of the Chinese Communist Party and their agents, never on the Chinese people or individuals of Chinese descent. My question would be, Attorney General, Director Wray frequently mentions that the Bureau is opening new cases to counter Chinese intelligence operations every 12 hours. How does this workload compare to threats that are emanating from Russia, North Korea, and Iran?
Well, it's a little hard to quantify. I think that all 4 of those countries represent significant threats to the United States, but they're along different threat vectors. I think what Director Wray recently said on CBS 60 Minutes, all of which I agree with, is that the Chinese government, the Communist Party, poses an enormous threat to our intellectual property, to our cyber systems, with respect to counterintelligence, and with respect to the national interest in those ways. No one looking at Ukraine right now can doubt that the Russian government also poses an enormous threat to the United States. We are bracing for potential cyber attack from Russia. We've had numerous criminal cyber attacks, which we've associated with criminal actors operating within Russia. No one operates in Russia without at least some support or looking away by the government there. We face a counterintelligence threat from Russia as well. So that's enormously significant. Everyone on this committee is aware of the Iranian threat and their support for terrorist organizations, which we have to be very concerned about as well. And of course, North Korea is a threat on a number of areas, one of which is again, cyber and cyber theft. So I think all four of these countries that you mentioned all represent substantial threats to the national security. And we are focused on combating every one of them.
Thank you. And of course, but obviously, what we're seeing from China is very disconcerting. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Aderholt. At this time, the chair recognizes the overall chair of House Appropriations